I just really enjoy looking after plants, and I really I love the fact that you've got these teensy little seeds, Look at them. You just imagine a little seed and then you germinate it, and the next thing you know, boom, you've got this amazing plant. Now, the translation of a tiny seed into an amazing plant is incredible. And the next thing you know, you've got fruit, and then you're back to seeds. It's just incredible. I love that.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. As we've seen through the series, drought, bushfires and the pandemic have had a monumental impact on farming in Australia. Those working the land have had almost every reason to throw their hands in the air and give up, but in typical Australian fashion, they've simply rolled up the sleeves, got stuck in and weathered whatever has been thrown at them. The result is some of the best produce in the world because our farmers are innately connected to and concerned with the land and what it's capable of producing. Julie Anderson is the owner of Parkesbourne Produce in regional New South Wales. Julie, thanks for joining us.
Well, it's lovely to speak with you. I don't know, though I feel quite honoured, There's nothing really all that special about what we do here, I don't think. But anyway, I'll let others be the judge of that.
Julie, can you tell us about Parkesbourne Produce and what you do there?
Well, we grow kind of specialist fruits mainly. They're very soft fruits. They're not fruits that you come across in the supermarket at all. They're kind of rare, hard to come by, and some are extremely rare because I import the seeds and grow some things from seeds. Takes quite a bit of time, but I just love doing that. I think it's really, really cool to introduce really unusual tastes and looks to the food landscape, I guess. Yeah, so mainly things like Alpine Strawberries, which are incredibly fragrant and quite a beautiful strawberry. I also grow other species of strawberries, such as the Virginian strawberries, and also Chilean strawberries. A lot of those are still in the experimental patches at the moment. Musk strawberries, which are another different species, as well as some specialist hybrid strawberries like pine berries and strasberries. All of these are really soft fruits, so no one really wants to do them in commercial scale because they're incredibly difficult to pick and grow. The Alpine strawberries, there's 700 in a kilo for a start. So, it's a bit of an effort. And then, with the raspberries, why just have red? I grow pink and gold and black and blue and purple because they're wonderful.
You mentioned that people don't grow them in a sort of large commercial sense, industrial. Can you tell us what the challenges are involved in growing these soft fruits?
Well, got shit shelf life. For a start, just incredibly difficult to pick. They're so small and delicate and fragile. So it's I pick them straight into a punnet so that they don't. So you just handle them only the once, and then chill them down to get the field temperature down straight into the cool room, and then they never leave that until they get to a restaurant, and they need to get to a restaurant fairly quickly, and they need to use them fairly quickly too. So they're all pretty delicate, although I do grow other things like a whole lot of different plums. I've got about 30 different varieties of different plums. They're a lot more robust, obviously. And gooseberries, I grow probably, about 8 or 9 different varieties of gooseberries. They're pretty tough too, but they're an absolute bitch to grow, sorry to pick, because you got to, don't fall into a gooseberry bush. The thorns are unbelievable. Every evening I pick all the thorns out of my fingers. So there are lots of challenges. Obviously the limiting factors are really labour, because it's just me and my husband picking. He's down picking boysenberries at the moment, whilst I'm here relaxing, chatting. The other thing is availability of water, because that's a limiting factor. During the drought, we ran out of water and had to get it trucked in just to keep the plants alive. And the other seasonal variability, obviously, is the main factor there, because these are all things that you can and can't control, Because we're in the Warragamba catchment, which means that we can't capture every drop of rain that falls. We can only capture a certain amount, and we must let the rest run through to go into Warragamba Dam for Sydney drinking water. So there are limitations, basically.
Can you tell us about the region? What makes it so special in regards to climate and soil for what you're doing?
I'm probably the only person that decided to come to Goulburn because I love the climate. It's there's not many cool enough climates with proximity to Sydney for your market. You have to be close to a market. It's nice and cold. It gets down to -12. Not normally, but in a bad year you can have heaps of -12. So you must have a good chill factor to grow stone fruit and to grow raspberries and blackberries and so forth. But then you get a nice warm summer here too, so you get, it really pushes the sugars up, because that's the problem with fruit of this sort, often grown in a cool climate, is you don't get the hot finish and you don't get the sugars. So people think gooseberries are real tart, but they're not. They're gorgeous. They just have the most beautiful, delicate flavour, not over-sweet. I'm not a big fan on awfully sweet fruit. But because it's not England and it's warmer, you get more sugars. So you get a much better product, I believe, although obviously with hot winds and stuff, it limits some things, because they do cook on the bush some years. That's disappointing.
You mentioned that you're producing about 30 different plum varieties. Could you give us an example of a couple of them and how different plums can be from plum to plum?
Look, you can get purple plums, yellow plums, you can have red flesh, you can have yellow flesh, incredible different varieties. I've got slow plums, which are a different species. They're Prunus spinosa. So they're tiny little things, terrible, can't eat them. But, I always throw them into gin, make slow gin. And same with the damsons, or the damsons you can eat. That's a different species as well. And then you've got your blood plums, which are gorgeous blood red flesh, and I've got about 6 or 7 different types of blood plums. So when you go to the supermarket, you buy by colour. You can have a black plum, or you can have a yellow plum or a red plum, You don't have Diagons and damsons and Burbanks and elephant hearts. You just have, buy your plum by colour, and they're horrible. They're sour and awful. Whereas when I grow like the prune plums, you've got to get as much sugar into them as possible. You leave them on the tree as long as you possibly can to get the sugar as high as you can. Whereas, your supermarket plums, good God, you can kick them around the aisles. It wouldn't make a difference. They'd be still fine. Taste terrible. And so that's the difference. And see, David's down there picking boysenberries now, and our fruit, the boysenberries, sylvanberries, youngberries, marionberries, they're all a little bit softer than what you get in the supermarket, because once again, I don't grow what you can buy in the supermarket, so I can't compete with Driscoll's, good grief. So, you grow all these different things and you pick them when they're ripe, not when, you can sit them on a shelf for a couple of months. Oh no, sorry, a couple of weeks. Good grief, and they taste terrible. And strawberries, my God, who can eat those things? They're not strawberries. They're I don't know. They're kind of cardboard cutouts, aren't they? If you have a proper homegrown fresh strawberry, my God, you just go weak at the knees. They're just gorgeous, luscious, sweet. Not them rock hard things you buy in the supermarket that are painted red. Good grief. I don't know why people do that. Simple to grow.
Your strawberries have featured in some of the best restaurants in Australia, and particularly the Alpine strawberries have really been championed by a few chefs. What's so special about those?
Oh, the fragrance. Unbelievable. If you grow a decent patch of Alpines and walk past, or you don't even have to walk past, you're just in the proximity, all you can smell is strawberries. And it's not like a normal strawberry smell, because your normal strawberries are a hybrid. They're a cross between a Chilean strawberry and a Virginian strawberry. And they've been, bred to be big and luscious and sweet, and they're not so sweet. They're a bit sweeter these days, I must admit. But the Alpine strawberries are Fragaria vesca, and they're an improved wild strawberry, and it has that wild strawberry fragrance and flavour, and it's just a big boom of flavour. It's they're unmistakable, and you get red ones, you get white ones, you get yellow ones, and they're all the different varieties. I've got about at the moment, I've probably only got about 6 or 7 different varieties of Alpines growing, mainly white and yellow, but I've got seeds for 20 different varieties that I've been, because I've been growing them from seed and saving the seeds so that we don't lose all these different varieties. So that's kind of the other thing too, is you've got to be careful when you're committed to just a commercial version of something, is that you lose all those wonderful varieties that people aren't growing commercially. So you have to be very mindful to save those seeds and to make sure that you can share them with other growers and so forth.
Growing these amazing soft fruits as you do is one thing, but bringing them to market and finding a market for them is another challenge. What's that been like over the years, connecting with chefs, and how important are they for your products?
Oh, I see it as more as a collaborative venture in many ways. You work with some of the best chefs, because they know what to do with the fruit. They know how to honour its uniqueness and its flavour and its just its perfection in many ways. I'm quite lucky really, because I love working with your really established important chefs, but I love talking when I deliver stuff. Sometimes I love talking to the chefs in the kitchen, and I often take in a whole bunch of different things for them to try, because they don't get to try what a real peach is supposed to taste like, for example. So I just bring in a lot of ordinary stuff, or I bring in a whole bunch of different varieties of gooseberries or sometimes, and I say, look, taste all these different ones and see what you think, and they're amazed. I like working with the young chefs as well as the more established important chefs, although they're pretty damn special. I'm lucky I really got an entree into that world because my son's a chef, and so's my husband's son is a chef also, and so I get to, I guess I don't know, I guess I'm very lucky like that, and lucky in some ways, but you've got to be careful too, because it was my son Terry, he was the one that said to me, oh Mum, you could grow Alpine strawberries. So he turns up here with a hot punnets full of these seedlings for me, and the next thing you know, I'm down on my hands and knees planting out all these hundreds or thousands of strawberries. So you've really got to be careful of what Terry encourages you to do. Sometimes, like he said to me one time, Mum, do you reckon you could grow hops? Stupidly, I said, yeah, great climate for it here, the soil's fine, it'll be great. Next thing I know, he turns up with all these hops crowns. I don't want to grow hops, but now I've got hops strangling my raspberries because he wants to make beer. I mean, honestly, you really have to be careful of him.
How did you get involved with growing fruit?
Well, I only cook what I like. My kids will tell you that. It doesn't matter what they want. I always cook what I like, so I always only grow what I like. I love fruit. I love my favourite fruits are raspberries and strawberries and plums and peaches, and so that's what I grow. I didn't just kind of wake up one morning and think, shit, I'm going to go out in the paddock and dig it up and grow some fruit. I was brought up on a farm down in the southern Riverina, quite different soil, quite different climate. It was sheep, it was wheat, it was cattle. It was extraordinarily different from here. But I love the land. I love living on farms, and I spent a lot of time in between that and now working, because I worked in the education department as a science teacher, and then I developed website materials for maths, for science, for agriculture, and then I went into giving strategic policy advice. Good grief, There was one too many of these bullshit bingos at meetings, and it sent me over the edge, and one too many restructures. So I thought, well, you know what? I don't. Why am I doing this to myself? So David and I decided to buy this farm down here, and then we've got 100 acres, and it's just gorgeous. Everywhere you look is just this gorgeous vista. So, of course, I started growing all these fruits and vegetables, and the next thing you know, I had so much, and so then I had to sort of start thinking, oh, geez, I'm going to need somebody to fund this little project for me. So Terry was at sepia at that time, so I started supplying sepia with Alpine strawberries and black currants and all sorts of things. And then, one thing led to another, and I've really had the privilege of working with a whole range of different chefs, and some of them only want a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and other things. Once you get to know a chef, you sort of say to them, like Ben at Aubergine, I say, Ben, I've got these josterberries, and you're going to love them. And he goes, am I? Because I know that's the flavours he likes. So I've sent him all these josterberries, whereas nobody else really is into that kind of flavour that I know of. And, you just know what your chefs kind of like. And some things I grow especially for chefs, which I really look forward to, If they say to me, oh, I really like those musk strawberries, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, well, if I take out that patch there, I can, really get going on those kind of things. So, it's invigorating, and, you've got to have a reason to get out of bed. And, it gets the old blood pumping. I love it. It really is good fun,
Can you take us to the farm? What's a typical day like for you on the farm?
Oh, well, you start off with all these ideas about what you're doing, and the next thing you know, you're out, hoeing a patch or planting something. But a typical day, well, it's extremely seasonal. So this time of year is our busiest time just before Christmas, because we've got boysenberries and young berries and sylvan berries and blackberries all coming on, as well as all the alpines and strawberries and all the different raspberries. So this is the time where we just pick constantly, pick and sell. But in winter, completely different, because the only thing going on in winter usually is truffle harvest, because we've got a little truffle patch down there as well. But that's not hugely time consuming. So then mainly, well, see, that's the problem with berries, is that is your winter jobs are massive, because you've got to cut out all your fruiting canes, and then you tie up all the canes for next year. So that takes months, and then there's got to prune all the plums, and you got to mulch everything, and it's pruning, it's mulching, it's fertilising, it's all sorts of things, just seeing to the needs of plants all day, every day, which is fine. And in summer, it's all about making sure they've got enough water and so forth. So, there's a lot to do because I knew I was in trouble. An Instagram friend of mine, Attila from Canberra, he's a proper horticulturist. Anyway, he turns up and I'm showing him around. And about halfway through the farm tour, he says, "Gee, this is a lot of work." And I thought, shit, for the horticulturist, it's a lot of work. I'm in trouble. I'm really in trouble. But yeah, it's a lot of work, but I love it. Like I've had a lot of, and it's because like you can all of a sudden you can think, oh, do you know what? I reckon this climate we grow wasabi, which we did. We grew wasabi here for about 4 or 5 years. Wow. And it's the drought took it out. I had 500 plants, and I supplied flowers and leaves mainly. And it was wonderful stuff to grow, but gee whiz, it's pernickety. It's incredibly challenging. When things are going well, it's going fabulously well, and when things are going bad, it just crashes and burns. But, we all know that about wasabi.
We've had some pretty traumatic experiences in the last couple of years, whether that's drought or bushfires or the pandemic. What sort of impact has that had on what you do?
Look, drought was the really tough thing for us because we just the soils here are decomposed granite, and the water, it doesn't hold a lot of moisture. Imagined that we'd get more rainfall than we actually do. Unfortunately, we don't. And when it stopped raining, it just stopped raining, and it was brutal, absolutely brutal. Because not only did it stop raining, the hot, dry winds, my God. Oh, and then the frost, so cold in winter, and then snow in October, it was about a foot deep snow, and you think, well, that's wonderful, but it's the only source of moisture we're having for a while here. And it ruined all the fruit, so then I had to cut out all the fruit was cooking on the canes, so I just cut out all the old canes, and some beds you just decide, well, you're not going to last. So you stop watering those beds, then you strip all the fruit off the trees to give them a chance of survival. And then, the highlight of your week was waiting for the water truck to turn up so that you could water stuff. It's incredible. And horticulture doesn't get any benefit from the government, but we, that's life. Don't worry about that. You just roll on. But it's just relentless, And the bushfires didn't come here. Seriously, there was nothing to burn, honestly. It was shocking. We kept a lot of ground cover, which was good. We haven't had cattle for years because we couldn't feed them, and we're not going down that track. And the bushfires, the smoke here was just ridiculous. The pollution levels were, off the charts, as with almost everywhere else. And with the pandemic, well, that's probably the only thing that hasn't really bothered us too much, because we just sit out here, in terms of, and you're talking to a woman that sold 6 trays of peaches last season. Yeah, that's all, 6 trays of peaches. So, drought is brutal for us. And it takes 18 months for most plants to recover. So this year, whilst we're picking and we're happy, very, very happy, next year, if everything goes well, then it'll be a much more fabulous year. So, in fact, the pandemic was kind of in tandem with us, because hospitality is kind of recovering, and we're kind of recovering. So we're kind of recovering together, is the way I see it.
Your food is on many menus in restaurants. What's the best iteration or dish that you've experienced in a restaurant using your fruit?
Ah, well, I've got to say, probably the standout for me most recently is Peter Gilmore's Summer Berries. Just the homage to the fruit, really touched me. It was because it was just beautiful, and he didn't, just stick something on the top of a of a dessert. Just put a berry on top, for example. It was just beautiful. It was beautiful in its simplicity. I really enjoyed that one. Martin Ben used to do some incredible things too. I really liked what he did with the wasabi flowers on top of a little fish dish. It just looked beautiful, and because Martin is a real artist, and he always did some beautiful things with the produce. But I certainly was very touched with summer berries. I thought that was lovely.
What does food mean to you? You mentioned that you only cook food that you love and you grow food that you love. Or what does food mean?
Well, what I most like about it is that when we all as a family sit around and we all eat together, and because the kids are all grown up, but you wouldn't think so when it comes Christmas, because I've got to cook all their favourite things, which I do, that's fine. And we always have pretty much the same menu, which is fine. But it's just lovely to sit around with them eating, and very often it's after we've gone out and we've dug up some potatoes, or we've, picked some peas, or, pick some fruit and put it on top of we like white chocolate cheesecake. I love it. They love it. Anyway, but the fruit always looks amazing on top. So I guess it's a real connectedness, particularly with family and friends. That's really what it means. And, the thing is with good food is that it's always amazing. Well, it sounds so self-evident, isn't it? You've got to have good produce to produce good meals, because you can't improve the flavour, I don't think. For example, like if you're making jam, if you just use rubbish fruit, you're never going to get jam that tastes any good. You just can't make that improvement. So I think that's really what it's all about for me.
Your business is very hands-on, but what do you love about it?
Well, I think sticking your hands in the dirt is really, it almost said grounds you, but it does. I guess that's where the term comes from. It makes you feel good, And I quite like my own company, so if I don't want to talk to anybody, I just go out there weeding and stuff, because who's going to say, hey, can I help you, So you're always going to be on your own out there doing miserable tasks like weeding and pruning in with a really cold wind blowing in winter, or tying up berry canes which are ripping you to shreds, So I just really enjoy looking after plants, and I really enjoy, I don't know, I love the fact that you've got these teensy little seeds, Look at them. You just imagine a little seed, and then you germinate it, and the next thing you know, boom, you've got this amazing plant. Now, the translation of a tiny seed into an amazing plant is incredible, and then you watch that plant and you think, oh, what are your needs, and then you see it flower, and then I've got some bees here from my friend at Collectors, brought me over some bees, so I make sure I've got good pollination. And the next thing you know, you've got fruit, and then you're back to seeds. It's just incredible. I love that. I think it's amazing, the simple things. Although it's quite complicated, I've got to say.
Can you take us through the life cycle of one of your products to give us an idea of what it actually takes to produce from the very beginning to when someone gets it on their plate?
Oh, well, if we could just go with Alpine strawberries, I used to import the seed, but now I grow my own seeds, save my own seeds. But you've got to set up insect exclusion cages so that they don't cross pollinate to make sure that you've got the right variety. So then you've got to germinate the seeds, and then you've got to have like a special seedling mix, perhaps, and then you've got to keep it within a certain temperature range while it's germinating. Make sure it's still moist all the time. And then from there, then you pot them up into little pots, and then you grow them on for about, maybe 3-4 months, maybe a little bit longer, depending on what time of year you want to do it. Then you've got to prepare your beds. So, you've got to put down your compost and your manure and maybe some dynamic lifter, blood and bone. That's one of my favourites. And then put the straw mulch on top, and then get the drip lines down, and then plant them out. And then if you look after them and it's a wonderful year, you'll get some fruit. And then, then you pick it. As I said earlier, you pick them into punnets because they're very soft, straight into the core room, and then from my core room down into restaurant core rooms. And there you are, boom, boom. It's harder if you've got to like Alpine strawberry seeds are relatively easy to germinate. Some not the strawberry, but some of the raspberry seeds are incredibly difficult to germinate. That takes you ages. You get your seeds, you've got to treat them, so you put them in different solutions, depends on the species, could be acidic, could be basic. Then you plant your seeds, and then you put them into the fridge in the punnets. You put them in the fridge for 3 months. You get them out of the fridge after that, and then you can put them in the hothouse, probably 2-3 months, and then if you're lucky, they'll germinate, because it's got to pretend that it's going through an animal's gut, and it's and that's the way normally you can germinate a raspberry. Difficult, but it's good fun when they germinate. My God, celebration! I'm easy pleased, aren't I?
You mentioned that you've got a whole raft of seeds that you haven't used yet. Is there some that you're really looking forward to planting and growing?
Always. I've got these Alpine strawberries are different to normal strawberries in many ways, and one of the ways is they don't have runners. But there's 2 varieties of Alpines that do have runners, and one's a red one called Attila, and I've got it running around underneath some peach trees. But another one is called Hawaii 4, and that's an Alpine that's white that has runners. So I'm germinating that one at the moment. I'm getting quite keen to see what it's going to look like, and it's supposed to have a very good flavour rating as well, because I kind of work with a mate of mine in the States, Michael Wellick. He is Mr. Strawberry. What he doesn't know about strawberries ain't worth knowing. Seriously, he knows everything. So I email him, and we work together on a lot of stuff, and he's helped me with the seed saving, with germination, and with all sorts of different things. He's and that's probably the highlight of this whole fruit growing business, is that the connections that you make with people. Like there's a grower, most of them, like I have a specialist gooseberry grower friend of mine, and we swap cuttings and plants in winter. And I've got a raspberry growing friend of mine, and we do the same. He's at the Mornington Peninsula, so in winter that's what we do. We swap cuttings and seeds, and it depends what people's interests are, and how we do how it all goes. So it's quite good fun, and particularly touching was just towards the end of the drought. I had a lady in Katoomba, another grower in Tasmania, and one in Mornington Peninsula, all offered to send me canes and plants to replace things that didn't make the drought, and that was really touching, you know. And that's just what a beautiful community the fruit growing people are. You know, I was really touched by that. It's wonderful.
As someone who grows some of Australia's most extraordinary soft fruits and an avid cook as well, do you have a dish that you like to cook using your fruit?
Oh, well, look, I've criticised chefs for just chucking fruit on top, but really that's pretty much what I do, you know. I make, although sometimes I make, you know, like jelly with Prosecco or something like that, and then I, you know, put pine berries suspended in the jelly, and that's really pretty and really nice, delicious. But in winter, I love making crumbles, you know, and I've always got in the freezer, you know, boysenberries or young berries or raspberries or something, just to really give it some zing, you know. I don't think apples really do it for me, and so that's generally what I do. Although I make a lot of jam too, got to say, must be said, make a lot of jam. Blood plum jam, that's one of my favourites.
As a massive crumble fan, I very much like that idea. I might try that next time I make a crumble, throw in some berries and give it a bit of zing. Julie, we've loved having you on Deep in the Weeds today to share your story. Please keep in touch, and we'll talk again soon.
Okay. It's lovely to chat.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Stay tuned as we share the stories of Australia's hospo community, suppliers and producers in search of hope during this pandemic. Special thanks to executive producer Rob Locke for making this all happen. Follow us on Instagram at Deep in the Weeds Podcast or email us at podcast@deepintheweeds.com.au. Stay safe and be well.